This is my review of My Hero Academia. Okay, so this special episode, Save the World with Love, is interesting. So, the episode, the story in it is set in between Season 2 and Season 3, specifically the final exam arc and the provisional and the force training camp arc. But the episode itself aired smack dab in the middle of the provisional licensing exam arc, and the episode makes several jokes before and after the episode, pointing out that that's exactly what happened. So the episode doesn't shy away from the fact that this episode isn't where it's supposed to be in the timeline, and that the animators kind of just decide to roll with it. So what happened? So in this episode, the core group, which consists of Uraraka, Ida, Deku, Bakugo, Todoroki, and Sue, are all brought together in a group of 6 to partake in a special course that is only being tackled before summer vacation, and all the teachers have taken time to prepare and before telling the students what's going on. So All Might shows up a little bit late and walks in on the rest of the the rest of the crew from UA actually discussing a promotional video that they saw that they're watching on TV as he walks in, and it's about him and his time in America, which would explain why all of his special moves are named after places in the United States, and his relationship with his good friend and former sidekick David Shield, who is featured prominently in the promo, albeit a bit younger. So All Might takes some time doing that to reflect on his time in America, and also gets some praise by the fact that he is actually a role model for Cementos, of all people. And Cementos has actually been a fan of All Might since he was a little kid, and is kind of honored to be working with him. And All Might couldn't be any more smug. He puffs up just so he can hold a confident pose and look his very best to be as smug as he can. And afterwards, Aizawa, who has been orchestrating the entire special class, comes in and tells the rest of the group to get ready. And All Might goes back to his office to get changed into his villain costume, and gets an email which he opts to check later. So Aizawa fills the group of students in on what they're going to be doing, and then they are brought to ground beta, I want to say it is, to participate in the final test that they're doing. And this test isn't for a grade or anything. It's just to see how they interact with certain events, and see how they're able to problem solve. And that's mainly what this episode is. It's showing just how good the future heroes are at problem solving, and how good they are at actually just coming to conclusions. So obviously Deku takes the lead on this one as the guy that everybody kind of listens to, and Todoroki as well, because Todoroki is kind of respected because he got in on recommendations. So Todoroki and Deku come up with a plan to have Uraraka go check out the situation and see what exactly is going on inside, to deduce how many hostages and how many villains there are, while Todoroki distracts All Might by calling him on the phone, because they know for a fact that All Might is the villain. So they decide to distract the main bad guy while they go check out the situation. And sure enough, Uraraka is able to get in pretty carefully using her floating ability, and is able to deduce that there's one villain, All Might, and 3 hostages consisting of Cementos, Midnight, and Present Mike. So after realizing the situation, they attempt to try and sneak in somehow, and try to go in and try to stop All Might from robbing the fake jewelry store that the staff of the school has set up. But Bakugo, being Bakugo, doesn't want to listen and just rushes straight in, explosions blazing. And the rest of the group has to run in after him. At which point they realize that All Might has apparently taken his own life, and that's where the episode gets interesting. So the group starts to deduce what exactly has gone on, and sure enough, Sue checks to see if All Might is actually dead, and he isn't, and that becomes an important point in this whole narrative later. But the group goes out to try and figure out what exactly happened, and the first thing they do is untie the hostages and figure out the situation. They find out that not only were the first two hostages Cementos and Present Mike, but that Midnight actually came in later, and All Might didn't really have much of a chance to flee because immediately the cops showed up. So, at which point Deku has all the information he needs to create a deduction and begins spouting what he believed happened. He believes at least the narrative that they were going with for the story of the scenario that they were in, that All Might and Midnight were lovers, or at least the characters that they're playing were lovers, and he deduces that Midnight was trying to get All Might to change his ways, and decided that very day to finally give him an ultimatum: either give up his ways or continue to be a villain. So she decided to. So since she came in last, she calls the police and then walks in, knowing full well that she would get captured. And because All Might didn't have enough time to actually evacuate the premises, and knowing that the pro-heroes were closing in on him, so to speak, he decides to take his own life. And not so much because he knew he would be backed into a corner because he wouldn't be able to escape, but because he didn't want to ruin Midnight's reputation by getting him kidnapped, getting himself captured, and having her relationship with him come out into the open. At which point, Mr. Aizawa awards them, because that was the situation they were going for, and commends Deku on being able to come to that conclusion. But then awards the group 0 points because they failed to notice that All Might was in fact still alive and ran out, and believed that even though they had tickled him, that he was just pretending to be dead, and didn't even realize that the character was pretending to be dead. So All Might bolted with the bag of jewels, and the group were awarded 0 points. At which point, All Might and the rest of the group is disbanded, and All Might returns back to his office and sees an email from David's daughter Melissa, who tells him that she had missed him, and also refers to him as Uncle Might, because she's technically his, well, not honorary niece, I guess, because I think it's an honorific thing because David and All Might were such close friends when they were younger, and I think she just started referring to him as Uncle Might. He gets an email saying that they have to go, that the Eye Expo at Eye Island is going to start soon, and kind of sends him an invitation, but also keeps it a secret from her dad, because she kind of wants to surprise David, so that he's completely blown away when All Might just shows up out of the blue, even though Melissa invited him over. And All Might, realizing that he kind of learned his tools of the trade at Eye Island, goes to recruit Deku and tells him and asks him if he wants to go with him so that he can actually learn those tools of the trade. And when Deku inevitably says yes, because he himself is a big tech nerd and loves all the developments that Eye Island has actually created, is immediately thrown for a loop when All Might tells him he has to pack his bags immediately because they're leaving right that second. And that's where the episode ends. After a shameless plug for the movie, which I have right here, but I will be reviewing this at a later time. I'll be reviewing that next week, but this episode is meant to be a segue into that. So, yeah, this episode is good. It's not supposed to be like this. It's not supposed to be like this huge lore-heavy episode. But it is a bit of a plug for the movie, which came out fairly recently, I want to say. I honestly have no idea when it actually came out, but a lot of people on Twitter have told me that it is indeed a very good movie when I posted a picture of it actually finally coming, and people were excited for me finally giving my thoughts on it. So yeah, it's safe to assume that a lot of you are probably going to want to watch this. So I think you guys will probably enjoy what I have in store for you guys next week. And this video is indeed a segue for next week's video, which will be coming out, and then we'll be going back into the core series for My Hero Academia, which I'm kind of interested to see because it uses the, I guess what they would be called, it uses the intros and outros for the late third season. So I'm assuming there are some plot points that I'm going to need to be aware of to fully understand what's going on with the OPs and the EDs. So who knows? But anyway, this episode's mainly to be a segue into the movie, which I will be reviewing next week. Long story short, it's a good little side episode. And while it doesn't have much to do with the movie, it does kick off the plot of the movie. So yeah, it's a good episode. I recommend watching it if you guys want to understand where the plot of the movie actually starts to take place. It's here, and as I said at the beginning of the video, it is set in between the forced training camp arc and the final exam arc. Not necessarily in that order, but it is set between those two arcs, and it's set in the middle of the third season. So it's kind of confusing, and if you guys want to actually watch this anime in order, I recommend watching this episode first before watching the third season, and watch the movie as well. But anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. It's a great little episode, great little segue into the movie, albeit in a bit of a shameless plug fashion. But yeah, this episode was good. I enjoyed it. I think you guys will enjoy it as well, and hopefully you guys will be looking forward to the movie when I review it next week. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, be sure to follow me on Facebook and on Twitter in the description below. And also check out my Patreon description below as well. It's only a couple bucks a month, and it really helps me out. So I would definitely appreciate it if you did that. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. And until next time, I will see you guys in the next video. Peace!